Everyone, we'll get started in a few minutes. We'll just give some time for more folks to join. And feel free to come on camera if you're willing and able.
I hope I'm not the only person hearing music, otherwise I'm gonna look really stupid.
I was sort of trying to.
Trippy.
Hello to everybody joining. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, what do you think, Rebecca? Should we get started? All righty, welcome everyone to the March SONSIEL meetup. We're super excited to have everybody here tonight, to have Chris here tonight with us to talk. And We're going to do what we've been doing for the past couple of months. We're going to have a guest speaker for the first half hour, 45 minutes or so, and then we'll go into our open meetup where you all can ask questions, network, and get to know each other. So I'm Marion Leary. I am on the board of SONSIEL and here along with some other board members. So I don't know, Rebecca and Nancy, if you guys want to introduce yourselves as well for anybody who's new.
Hi, I'm Nancy Nager. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you every month. I'm also on the board of SONSIEL, and happy to be here.
You guys, Rebecca Love. I'm also on the board. I'm the president of SONSIEL, and we're so excited that you guys are here. We know that taking a day out, like I know I was running with my kids to try to make it back for this. So I just want to thank you guys because I know it's hard to show up for another Zoom meeting, but we're so excited that you guys are here. And I'm going to turn it back over to Marion, and she's going to tell me when I'm going to, or we're going to just go right into it. Okay, fantastic. I have the pleasure of introducing to you guys Chris Recinos, who is a doctor-prepared nurse practitioner, chief nurse executive Kaiser Permanente, before she decided to take a leap of faith and bet on herself and has moved into running her own and is the founder of an organization called the Nurse Leader Network. I met Chris the night before our last hackathon in which she decided to show up at the hackathon, and through her story of what she pitched that last day brought the entire house down. There are very few times that I meet nurses that stop me in my tracks on the way and what they do in life and how they've been able to overcome the obstacles that they've had. But every time I hear Chris speak, I reimagine what life could be if every nurse heard stories like this, because it shows what's possible. So without further ado, I am now going to introduce you with great pleasure to Chris Recinos, and take it away.
Awesome. All right. So I am, she said, Shauna says, when do we have karaoke? We're going to have it soon, Shauna. So just hold on tight. What I'm going to ask everybody to do, because this is interactive, anytime I share my story, I ask that you give as much as I give. And so you are going to take out a piece of paper. So if you don't have paper, please go and get a handy, nice piece of paper. 2 pieces. You're going to need 2 pieces of paper. You're going to want to do this too, because you're going to walk away from tonight's meeting with a definition of your purpose and an outline of how to meet your goals. So get some paper, get a pen. I'll give everybody maybe like another minute or another 30 seconds. All right, and I am going to share my screen. So let's see here. All right, so how many of you have ever had something bad happen to you in your life? Show of hands, right? Something bad happened. Maybe you, maybe it was something really large, right? Maybe you lost somebody you loved. Maybe it was something small, like, you know, you leaked your ink pen, or in my case, I drop a coffee or something on myself every single day. My kids think it's hilarious. What we're going to talk about today is how we go from those moments where something maybe bad has happened and be able to craft what we should be doing in terms of leveraging that to get us to where we want to be in our lives.
Chris,
So,
real quick, can you make your slide bigger? For some reason, we're seeing the split screen right now. Yeah,
I'm sharing the wrong screen. Maybe if I did that, huh?
Perfect. This that you might, yeah.
Yay! There you go.
Woo! That's it. Thank you.
Okay, so in just a couple minutes, I'm going to help you identify your life's values, your purpose, and help you create your roadmap so that you could get your to-do list. So we're going to start back by reflecting on and bringing it back to this time. So I want you all to imagine this year. I'm going to just describe the year and you can tell me what year you think it is. This year, Miami Vice was the hottest show on TV. This year, Bette Davis's Eyes by Kim Carnes topped the top 100 of Billboard. This year, The Raiders of the Lost Ark grossed the highest amount in the movie theaters. The AIDS virus was finally identified, and it was the first year that the word internet was used. Oh, I see some stuff in the chat. Let's see what it says. See, people are saying 80s. Yeah, 80. Ooh, Dr. Candy Campbell is very close. It's 1981. And so that was the year of my birth, 1981. I want you to think back to the year that you were born. What, if you all are on a computer, like Google, what was the top movie, but bring it back. Start like really getting into the smells that you had. You maybe don't remember the smells of the year you were born, but start thinking about like going back to like when you were born and what your childhood looked like. I'm going to share with you what mine was like. It was a seemingly normal childhood. We didn't realize, I was the oldest of 7. I am the oldest of 7. And we didn't realize that having crack cocaine and heroin laying around the house was a not normal thing. We did not realize that being physically and every other kind of type of punishment on a daily basis was not a normal thing. We were really actually pretty happy kids for living in an environment where there was a lot of drug use, a lot of different types of abuse. And despite all that, we thought it was like normal. We thought everybody lived like that. We didn't realize that not everybody lived like that. And so taking it back to my childhood, if I had not been exposed to what I know today, I would have said that I actually had a good childhood. So I'd like you to kind of reflect on your childhood. What was it like? Was it the perfect dream childhood? Was it the perfect childhood to you? Was it not the perfect childhood? Were there traumas and events and things that happened in your life that, are hard to kind of think about? So I'm going to kind of progress into my journey. I was living this life and thinking everything was okay, thinking at 11 years old it was normal to go to my friend's house for 2 weeks, and I thought it was the best time ever. And my best friend to this day thinks it was the best friend thing ever too. We would just not go to school and hang out for like 2 weeks straight. So thinking back to that, now let's go ahead and fast forward to when I was about 10 years old. So fast forward to 10 years old, we got a knock on the door one day. And it was this really nice, short, little skinny lady with brown curly hair. And she said, "Hi, my name is Sandra, and I'm from the Department of Children and Family Services." And she said, "Where's your mom?" Because we answered the door, my mom wasn't there. And my little 3-year-old brother came out with a mirror that had cocaine on it and a straw and gave it to the social worker. And so needless to say, that was the last time I lived with my mom. At 10 years old, I went into the foster care system in Los Angeles County. And again, I didn't really kind of understand like what was normal. So I went actually to 16 high schools in LA County and moved, different homes every couple of months. I had different homes. And even then it was still kind of fun. I was like getting to try different foods and, it was kind of fun. So I want you to think about a time where like something happened in your life and there was a huge change, right? You had to react. We had to react to our situation of, I'm now the oldest of, 7 that doesn't live with any of them. We were all separated. So think about a time in your life where you've had some type of reaction. You had to react. And what did that look like? Now, I'm going to ask you, before we go any further, and we're talking about reaction, to write down, we're going to be looking at how reactive we are. Write down your to-do list. You're going to do 2 different to-do lists. One is a personal to-do list and one is a professional to-do list. So on your personal, it might have things like take the kids out. Take the dogs pee so they don't pee on my living room because that's what my dogs do on a regular basis. It might be, check my emails. It might be Zoom with a friend. And then, your professional might be emails, meetings, Zoom forever and ever and ever. But go ahead and write down, I'll give you about 10 seconds, 30 seconds to write down your personal and your professional to-do list. I'm seeing like some smiles and then I'm seeing some frowns. I know what kind of days you guys are having. All right, so as you are finishing those up, we're going to go into to the next step, which is reintegrate. And so I was at a point in my life where I had to reintegrate into society. And I had to learn that yelling is not how you communicate with people, even though to this day I still yell. And I just like to say it's because I have a loud voice, because that's how we do it in Los Angeles. I had to learn that like not every parent did drugs. Like I didn't realize that that wasn't a thing. And not, you know, I had to learn that like you actually had dinner every night. I learned all of these things and really began to reintegrate. So I'd like for you to reflect on a time where maybe you got a new job and you had to reintegrate into a different work, you know, culture, or maybe there was a time that you got married and you're reintegrating into a new family. Maybe there was a time that you got divorced and now you're reintegrating into single life, single and ready to mingle. That's all I'm saying. It's fun for those of us that are married anyways. So think about a time when you had to like reintegrate into your life. So I came to a point when I was 14 years old where I then had to reimagine my life. And the reason I had to go from reintegration to reimagining is because I found myself in the hospital at 14 years old. And what do you guys think I was in the hospital for? I broke my leg, I hit somebody, I got hit by a car. No, none of those things. At 14 years old, I was in labor with my first daughter. And so I had to reimagine life. My goal had been to become a physician at some point. And, you know, my stats weren't, the odds were a little bit against me. I was, you know, had to reimagine like what it looked like to make baby bottles and to change diapers and to play with Barbies, but like not me actually play with the Barbies, like my child actually playing with the Barbies. I had to really begin to reimagine what my life was like. And then I had to really think about like what I didn't want my life to be like. And what I didn't want is for a social worker named Sandra to come and escort my daughter out of the house, right? So that's a time where I just had to kind of reimagine what my life was going to look like. And so I'd like for you to think about a time where maybe you had to reimagine what your life would look like. And that might be graduating from high school and then moving away to college. Reimagining might be going into a new job or taking a risk and quitting Kaiser and everybody telling you that was going to be the worst mistake of your life, but it's actually one of the best. But think about a time that you had to reimagine what your scenario was going to be like, and the fear and the emotion and excitement and all of the sensations you had around that. So next, it was time for me to rework. I reimagined, it was time to get my butt to work. I was a single mom. I immediately enrolled in nursing school. As soon as I graduated high school, I doubled up actually high school because I missed a year of high school because I had so many moves. And so I doubled up, graduated, became a nurse practitioner. That wasn't enough. I was like, I can do more. I want to do more. I want to contribute more to our profession. Went to a Ph.D. program, worked. And I became the first chief nurse executive at Kaiser Permanente in her 30s. That was doctorally prepared and ready to take on the world. I worked beyond hard and I really worked at achieving what society's definition of success was. So think about a time you reworked. You were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hash it out. I'm going to get through it. And this is, you know, the result that I'm going to get. And you've got the result. And now you're like, wow. So I was done. In 2016, I was it. Like I had met my goals. And so the talk's over. Bye. Okay, I'm just kidding. The talk is not over. But in 2016, I was on top of the world. Like literally was like making $250,000 a year. So, you know, I had taken all that stigma around growing up in foster care, being a teen mom, like it all was down the drain. I was on fire, ready to change the world and ready to move. And that was until January 13th of 2017. So January 13, 2017 was a morning like any other. It was a Friday morning. I was getting ready to go to work. I was going to meet with some folks over in San Bernardino County around the new Target clinic that I was building for Kaiser. And my daughter, the one who I had at 14, was proud mama that I was. She was a pre-med student at UCLA by this time. And so that morning I went to wake her up because she was a commuter. She'd live at home and she'd drive there. I went to go see where she was at, you know, and her car was still in the driveway. Usually it was gone. I wasn't hearing any noise from her room. She had a dog. She has a dog named Sky. He lives with us, or she lives with us. And Sky was out of the room, and that was just not normal. Sky was usually in her bed. And so I walk up to her room and I looked down. And there was a note on the floor. And so I picked up the note, and the note said, "Don't let the kids see. I love you, Harmony." My daughter's name was Harmony. So I proceeded to open the door, and I found Harmony lying in her bed, and she wasn't breathing. And so, being the ER nurse that I was, I immediately put myself into gear, and I began the best set of chest compressions I've ever done in my entire life. I called 911. I gave them the wrong address like 3 times because I could not remember the address that I lived at. And I worked on my daughter for about, felt like eternity, and was probably about 10 minutes until emergency services got there. When they pulled up, they said, what's going on? And I said, "My daughter's dead." I knew I wasn't going to be bringing her back. And I knew that despite all the CPR that I had done for her, that it wasn't good enough. My daughter had taken her life. She had died by suicide. At that point, that day, I was 4 months pregnant with my 3-year-old. And so after they took her body, I began to Google how she did it so that I could do it myself, because I did not want to continue on without the child. That was the reason, my motivation, my purpose, my reason for living. And I didn't care that I was pregnant. I was going to take the baby with me. I didn't want to leave the baby alone. And so it was a really, really difficult period of my life, and was one that I think has absolutely changed the course of myself, what I'm doing, and those that I'll impact. I realized that all of the hard work that I had done hadn't prepared me for anything that mattered. I realized that the 18-hour days that I was putting in as a nurse executive, the 7 days a week, that it didn't matter. And what mattered to me was all of the memories I did not have of my daughter. I didn't have PTA meeting memories. My husband did. I didn't have the memories of taking her to school. My husband did. I didn't have the memories of any of her soccer games. My husband had them all. Because the entire time I was striving for what society defined for me as success versus what success really meant to me. I realized I wasn't the only one that had lost a child. I thought, as a nurse and as a nurse practitioner, that when parents lost their children, I felt their suffering. I knew it. And I can tell you, after losing a child, I didn't even understand the surface. And so I had 2 options. I could continue to Google how to kill myself, or I could make my daughter's death mean something and provide purpose so that other moms would not bury their children. And so that really led me to reassessing my life. And so I'd like for you to think about a time where you realized some truth that you didn't know. It doesn't have to be that in depth, right? Maybe you realize, hey, the world doesn't revolve around me. Or maybe you realize, like, I'm not as good of a writer as I thought I was. Or maybe you realize that time that you could have spent with your mom, you can no longer spend because she's no longer with you. But think about a time that you realized something and the emotions and the feelings that you had around that moment. So it's time for me to reassess my life. And I'm going to have you reassess yours at this moment. So I want you all to pretend that you are 5 years in the future from now. And I want you to pretend that you're at your favorite place, and that, maybe it's like, because we haven't traveled, maybe it's at the airport getting ready to travel to the Bahamas. Maybe it's at Starbucks. Maybe for some of you, it's in bed, wherever your favorite place is. I want you to pretend you're in your favorite place. And I want you to imagine that a friend from high school or from a long time ago that you haven't seen came up to you and was like, "Hey, Marion, oh my God, is that you? Hey, Nancy, oh my gosh, is that you?" And they said, "What are you up to? What are you doing? Like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. What are you doing?" And I want you to tell this person what your best life looks like. I'll share for you what mine looks like. Mine looks like I'm at every PTA meeting. It looks like I am at every single doctor's appointment. It looks like me and my husband are having sex on the roof every single day. It looks like I have $50,000 that I'm donating every single month to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It looks like I have a foundation for children that lived in foster care. I want you to dream big. Like, is it that you're a billionaire? Is it that you're like, what is it that you want? And as you're writing this down, you're going to write it down on a separate piece of paper. This is going to be a separate piece of paper. I want you to start thinking about categories that are important. So for me, my categories are my health, right? If I can't help others, if I'm not helping myself. So that's why I was on the Peloton this morning, like trying to get cute. And then, you know, my second priority is my family. And then my third is finances. And then my fourth is community service. So think about 4 topics in what you're telling this person that you can bunch these into. So think about dream big. What is it that you want to be doing in 5 years from now? 5 years is really close, guys. It goes in a blink of an eye. So if sky's the limit, what would you be doing? All right. So I'll give you like another 30 seconds to go ahead and write down what your absolute best life looks like. And sometimes our wants like conflict each other. So I want to live at the beach, but I also want to live by my sister who lives in Texas and there's no beaches around there. So we got to get that together. Like, you can't want 2 things that conflict. You got 2 things on the list that conflict. You got to pick one or the other. All right. So moving on from the reassessing, you guys are reassessing where you want to be at in 5 years from now. It's time to reanimate. So my reanimation looked like I did that exercise I just had you do. And I have my paper here and I shared with you guys what was on it. And so I looked at where I currently was. So I'm a nurse executive. Is being a nurse executive going to allow me to go to all of the PTA meetings, soccer games, appointments? No. Okay, it's not. Let's look at the finances. Is being a nurse executive ever going to give me enough money so that I can be donating $50,000 per month to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention? No. Okay, let's look at community. Am I going to have the time to begin a community for foster care or for battered women or for suicide prevention? No. Cross that off the list. Let's look at my health. Does it allow me time to get on the Peloton and watch Cody? Because Cody is super sexy. And if you guys don't know who he is and you have a Peloton, you're missing out. No, it didn't. And so everything that I was doing was in malalignment with where I wanted to be in 5 years. It was directly leading me the opposite way of where I wanted to be in 5 years. And so what I did was, while I was that nurse executive, I found out about a hackathon. And so I had already started working on a podcast. I'd already started working on my business, the Nurse Leader Network. And I found out about a hackathon, the Hack for Health, that is led by SONSIEL, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft. And I told my husband, hey, this is happening tomorrow. I found out about it from Rebecca, like at 7 p.m. the night before. And I just like registered. And then I told my kids, who are sitting over there listening to me. And I was like, you guys want to register? And they were like, well, we're not old enough. And I said, you're always old enough. So we registered as a family to do the hackathon. And we met with another group of other nurses from the East Coast. And we found out that we all had something in common. Every single one of us had a mental health issue. I had massive depression and PTSD because of my daughter. My daughter has anxiety. My son has ADHD. And then the other folks that were on the group, they had a mental health illness, or their sisters, family, friends had a mental health illness. And none of us had been able to escape it, regardless of how successful we were. And so we decided that we wanted to create something that would really help out with mental health. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is November of last year. We knew we were going into the fall. And we came upon the moment that we realized that the biggest area that was struggling were teenagers. 1 in 5 teenagers in high school has either thought of or has taken their life. 1 in 5 teenagers in high school think about taking their life in the United States. And so we decided that that's where we were going to put our energy. And we met a bunch of really cool, interesting individuals and ended up coming up with an app that we named after my daughter called Hello Harmony, which is a chat box functioned app where teens can create this artificial being or this friend, kind of like you can with some of the other applications that they have. And they could talk to this person. And the point of it was one part so that we could normalize having mental health, discussions. Like it's not something you need to be embarrassed about. But second of all, it was to really catch. So if we, determined that there was a kid that was using the app that was at risk, we'd be able to get them some services. So I'm in the stage of, I have a minimally viable product. I just hooked up with a psychologist who's going to help me with making sure that we have behavioral interventions available. I'm working on connecting with AFSP so that we can get the referral services in place. But all of this came about because of Hack for Health. All of this came about because I was reanimated and I channeled all of that grief that I had into being sure that by the time I take my last breath on this earth, I have saved the grief of at least one other parent from burying their children. The cool thing about the hackathon was we could invite people that were non-traditional, right? So guess who helped me design and come up with the idea for the app? My 10 and 13-year-old sons. My 19-year-old daughter played around with it and helped us design it and said, this is something we would use. They told us where we would want to put it. And so it really was developed for teens by teens. And so that's my shameless plug for the Nurse Hack for Health. So we're coming to the point where we're getting ready to wrap this thing up. And I told you that you guys were going to leave here with your roadmaps. So thinking about which are you reanimated? Are you ready to align your actions with your goals? I'm going to send out this slide so you guys can have them, but I want you to think about all of those things on your to-do list and then look at this wheel of life and look at how much each of those actions have to do with your wheel of life. The wheel of life, if we look at the literature, really shows that if we're struggling in just one area, like a wheel, like a tire, it's going to go flat. So if I'm not giving enough to myself, even if I'm giving enough in the other areas, my tire is going to go flat. I'm going to have burnout. Same thing with health and fitness or intimate relationships with your family, with fun and social lives, your career, your finances, your personal development. What do you have on your to-do list that's missing in those areas? And if you have, like for me, for a very long time was myself, I was doing zero self-care. I was putting everybody first, which all of us do as nurses. You don't even try to pretend you don't, because I know you all. But you really want to create SMART goals around those things. So for example, if you're feeling like, hey, I'm really not taking care of myself, I am feeling that tension in the morning when I wake up, you want to make that goal specific, right? So for me, it's, I'm going to wake up every 6 a.m. in the morning, measurable, every single day, 7 days a week, achievable. I wake up at, almost at 6 o'clock anyways, relevant. The reason it's relevant to me is because it makes my spirit feel good, and then time bound, I'm going to do it for an hour. And so my goal is I'm going to wake up every single morning at 6 in the morning and get on Peloton and watch Cody because he's super cute and because it helps me lose weight every single day, 7 days a week. And somebody said, Matt is also cute on Peloton. So I'll let you know after I check him out. That being said, you really want to make sure that you rate the numbers. The reason the numbers are there is so that you can rate yourself in each of those areas. And so the object is to really rate yourself in each of the areas, look at where you need to develop some SMART goals around getting to a 10 in all of them. You can do it. You can get 10 in all of them. Now, you may be asking yourself, Chris, how the hell am I going to do that? I have no time. I have no time. What are you talking about? If you're telling yourself you have no time, that's a resistance. There's an internal resistance inside of you, because guess who chooses what you do with your time? You. Nobody else. Not Jesus. Maybe it's Jesus when it's time to go. Nobody tells you what to do with your time. You get to choose what you do with your time. And I thought I didn't realize that before. I thought, like, no, everybody's telling me I have to go to these meetings. No, I get to choose what I can say no. And guess what will happen? Worst case scenario, I get in trouble and I say, too bad, I chose to do what I wanted to do with my time. And that's all there is to it, right? So I want you to now take your to-do list out, and I want you to take your 5-year list out. And I want you to compare what is on your to-do list. And if it is not going to get you to your 5-year list, you need to scratch it off right now. Just, I'm giving you the permission. You have the liberation. Scratch that crap off your list. I have people come to me and say, Chris, I can't scratch off emails at work because I'll get fired. Let me tell you what you can do. You can stop saying you can't. You can start empowering people and saying, hey, you know what? I trust you to make this decision. Or, hey, send me a text. Or, hey, stop. You can change things around so that people don't feel the need to send you 5,000 emails. You can block all the spam so you don't get all the stuff for Nurses Week advertisements. I mean, like, you really can take control of everything you think you cannot take control of. So you want to really take off what's on the to-do list that is not going to get you to 5 years. That's going to give you enough time to go back and meet those goals that you were trying to meet, so you can stay whole and not have that burnout. So we're wrapping up. You have your 5-year to-do list, which is your why. That's going to get you to where it is that you want to go. You have your today's to-do list, which I can predict with 100% accuracy. If I look at your to-do list today, I can tell you what your future is going to hold because I am a future teller. No, I'm not. Because what you do today is going to end up being who you are tomorrow. So if today you're spinning your wheels, you're stressed out, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not eating right, you're not putting yourself first, I know exactly where you're going to be. You don't even need to wait. I can tell you right now, I'll just write you a diagnosis for chronic diseases. So you really want to, it's that important for you to really assess that list, put it away, put that 5-year to-do list. The last part of your, you've defined your goals, you kind of see where your purpose is, you now kind of have a roadmap, you know what you need to take off your plate, you know what you need to add on to the plate. The next is you now need to put it in, make it into a paper plane, because if you don't make it in a paper plane, it ain't real. And you're gonna make it in that paper plane. So fold up that 5-year goal list, make it into that paper plane. And you're going to remember that that paper plane is going to take you there. Whatever you do, you want to open that baby up and look at it. You want to make sure every single week you're going back and looking at your wheel of life. Are you fulfilling what you need to fulfill to remain where you want to be, to fulfill your purpose, to be able to give back in the ways that you want to give back? But just keep that plane with you, because that is really going to be your destination. That's your final destination. That's your Delta Airlines. That's going to take you to where it is you want to go. But it's important to reflect back on it. And so that's what I have for you. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it's been fun. I hope it's been inspiring, but it really is just a way to kind of think back on, hey, maybe some of these things have happened. Let me reassess where I want to go. Let me rework my roadmap so that I can get there. Thank you all for the time to chat with you. This was really fun.
Thank you so much, Chris. Every time I hear your story, I'm just so moved and inspired. Do folks have questions for Chris? Chris, are you willing to take some questions?
Absolutely, of course.
If you want to ask a question, you can use the little raise hand, or there's not that many of us on here that you could probably just jump in also.
I'll start, Chris. When did you leave Kaiser, and how did you make that decision? I think I don't think we quite covered that, and I think a lot of people are curious how you decided to finally take that leap of faith.
So I left in September, and I had actually been thinking about it since probably like a year before that. My daughter died in 2017, and so in 2019 was really when I finally stopped having a pity party and realized I needed to make some change. And I actually came across this activity where you think, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I literally did the exercise and said, this doesn't make sense for me to be here. And so it took I don't know if I'm spiritual, if I believe, I don't know what I believe in anymore at this point, but what I do know is that I believe that I have a purpose and a destiny. And, I was on the verge of leaving, and then my son had some issues. He had some mental health issues. And I was going to do everything that I could within my power to not have to bury another child. And so it was actually a really easy decision for me to make. Everybody was like, you're going to lose the money. And what about your house? I said, I would rather be homeless. I've done it before. I've been homeless before. And I would rather be homeless than have to bury another child. So I really don't care about the finances. That's not really what drives me. And I wasn't filling my soul, although I was helping the patients at my facility. And I really did like the job, and I love the people I worked with, but I felt like something was calling me to be so much more. I felt like there was a population out there that really needed who I am, and it wasn't at the facility I was serving. And so it really wasn't a hard decision, and it won't be a hard decision for you. I know you think it will, but if you map out where you want to be, and then you map out what you're currently doing, and if it doesn't match, it's really not a hard decision, because again, if you keep doing what you're doing now, you can just throw that piece of paper in the trash. You're not going to be there in 5 years. But if you don't, you can change it. And I mean, I left in September, and where I'm at right now is all of those things I want to be able to do, those PTA meetings, I have them, they're done. I thought I was going to be homeless. Guess what? I'm making more right now than I was making before. I thought that I was going to, I wasn't sure about my exercise. I'm exercising every single day. I meditate every single day. My community work, I'm writing a book right now for foster kids. So everything that I had on my 5-year list in this short 6 months, I'm like trekking on my way there. And I guarantee you that by the time the 5 years hits, I will be donating $50,000 a year to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, because every action that I do every day, I'm very purposeful about making sure that's where it's leading me and nowhere else. Everything else, I have to say no to. And I'm okay with saying no, because you can ask my kids, I say it all the time.
We have a question. Shauna, do you want to ask your question?
I do. So first of all, I want to start out with saying, Chris, we love you. I love you, but I'm on behalf of everybody, I just want to say how much we love you. And I think particularly right now during the pandemic and everybody being distant, I think it's become a whole lot easier for everybody to just acknowledge that. So putting that out there. Your point about making the decision. I'm curious. My experience has been oftentimes the decision is the hardest part of it, but once you've made the decision, then everything else just is like obstacle removal, or that type of, you just start on that to-do list. And I'm just curious from the standpoint, if you've got people where the decision is hard versus the decision isn't hard, have you got some, those seem like two different people. And maybe you've got a strategy for the group of people where the decision was easy, but then moving through the process is hard. And then for those people where the decision was hard, but moving through the process is easy.
Yeah, so I'll start with where the decision was easy and then the moving through the process is hard. You can't do it without a community. As human beings, we constantly are seeking happiness. But happiness, guess who's the only person that that doesn't experience happiness that we know of? No, the dead person, a dead person, right?
Okay, gotcha.
Guess who's the only person who doesn't experience sadness? Also probably a dead person. I'm assuming, right? I don't know. I haven't been dead yet, I think. That being said, happiness and sadness go hand in hand. It's a fleeting moment. And what I mean by that is, how many times have you really wanted to buy something? Like you really, really, really want to buy something, and then you buy it, and then you're beyond happy. And then 2 months later, it's in the garage and you ain't touching it anymore.
Yeah, I think my best example is when I'm tempted by salted caramel and chocolate, like in obscene amounts. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so it gives you happiness, but that level of happiness it gives you when you first get it, it's never stays. It won't stay. It can't stay. It's not part of us being humans. So what we need to first do is really change our view around not seeking happiness and instead seeking meaning. And there's a couple different things you can do to seek meaning, but one of the biggest, there's like 3 different pillars, and there's a really great TED talk around how to seek meaning as an individual versus happiness. But one of the biggest pillars is community. You cannot become meaningful and do meaningful things and really enjoy your life and be able to die at the end of your life and say, I have no regrets, without having a community behind you. And so when you make that decision, you have to make sure you have your cheerleaders on the side. And I know for me, I literally, no joke, have like 3 friends. I have a bunch of acquaintances, but like best friends that know like every single thing about Chris, I have 3 of them. And that's enough. That's all I need. I can call them and say, oh my God, what the hell did I do? Why did I leave my job at Chris? And they'll be like, Chris, are you crazy? So and we all have them, even if it's one person, we all have that cheerleader. And if you don't have them, go friggin' find them. Cultivate your team, cultivate your people, network. You'll find somebody, but you have to have that community behind me, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be all fun. If it was all fun, you would learn jack and you wouldn't grow. So we want it to not be fun, because those failures are that's how we learn. That's how we pivot. That's how we make things better for people, is with our failures, not with our fun. We don't learn jack when we're having fun and when it's easy. We learn when it's hard. And so just changing our mindset around, it's not always going to be fun, but I'm going to be always creating meaningful, because even when times get hard, if you're seeking meaning, the meaning will be sustainable. It'll sustain you and get you through whatever hardship you may have, whether that's a loss of a life or whether that's something as small as running out of gas, which in Los Angeles, that's not really small at all. And so I would say for those that it was easy to make a decision and now it's really hard, you need to put on your hat of let me go start finding meaning, and you need to go find your tribe, and you need to find them now. And then you need to really lean on them, use them, and make sure that you're there for them as well. These are, you've got to give what you get. And so you want to make sure you're calling these people up and just sending random text messages. For me, because I'm like really busy, I just put it on my phone. I like auto put it on my phone, and it's a reminder like, hey, text so-and-so, just so that they know, hey, I'm thinking about you, even though, it's just random. And so setting up systems like that. Now, for the person that is a hard decision, whether it's easy or hard afterwards, what I'll tell you is this: it's a hard decision because you're experiencing something called resistance. Resistance can manifest itself in many, 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 many ways. It can be like, how many of you guys have had like something on your to-do list that you got to get done, but instead you're like, wait, let me go clean my house. Wait, let me go do this. Wait, let me go to the grocery store. Wait, let me call my friend. Wait, you do everything that you can to avoid that. That might be what your resistance look like. Your resistance might look like you having negative self-talk. I can't do this. I'm not going to, I'll never do this. I'll never, your resistance might look like, just excuses. So it's excuses, or it's avoidance, or it's fear, or it's anger. Your resistance might look like angry, like, well, whatever, she just did it because she, was cute and that's why Cody likes her. Whatever. You have to understand that there's a series of resistance. And I actually have some resources around like the different types of resistance that you could have, and then how they manifest themselves in your life. And so what you need to really do is begin to really do some deep learning, and it's a lot more than I can explain here, but there's some actionable things that you can do every single day to really get past your resistances. So we all know that the number one person that talks bad about us is us. So one of the things you could do nobody talks as bad about yourself as yourself. Like the other day, no joke, I was like talking about something, and I don't remember what I dropped something or whatever, and I was like, oh my God, that's so stupid. And my daughter's like, why are you talking like that to yourself? Right? Like, we talk bad to ourselves. So the first way to kind of change that, and I have it on my thing. I don't know if you can see that paper back there. Those are my positive affirmations. So I start off my morning, I wake up, and before I get Folgers in my cup, I read them, and I'll share with you what they say. But they say things like, I'm filled with meaning that my knowledge has helped others succeed. My heart, health, family, and purpose are full of as a result of the work that I do. I work 5 days a week on my family, my health, and my membership site. So you start telling yourself what you do, even if you don't do it. Honey, I was not working out 5 days a week. I don't know that I still am not working 5 days, but you just tell yourself what it is you want, where do you want to be? And then at the end, you address the resistance. So for example, one of my resistances is that other people control my time. I felt like other people, my jobs were controlling my time, my kid, everybody's controlling my time. I want my damn time. And so one of my affirmations is I have full control over being busy and scheduling my day. I have control. It's the truth. It is what it is. But in my mind, I was like, no, everybody's telling me what I have to do. Another one is I only take action steps related to my goals, and I say no to everything else. I used to be a yes person. Oh, you want me on this? Yes. Oh, you want me to do this? Yes. Oh, I'd love to do this, because I'm so eager and I love getting involved with everything, and I love talking, and I love it. And it was killing me. And so now I'm giving myself the permission before I even start my day to say no. No, I'm sorry. That's a great idea. I really appreciate you thinking about me, but no, sorry, I just can't. And so you don't even need to say sorry. You just can't. And so, another one I abandon filling up my plate and feeling overwhelmed with it all. I'm not filling up my plate. I'm going to set aside time every single week where it's my time, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get my massage, or I'm going to go and whatever it is that I'm going to do, take a bath without my 2-year-old hopping in the bath with me. But it's my time, and it's very protected. And I had that conversation with my husband about how sacred it is, and my kids know it. And because they know I can't be my best version of myself for them if I don't take care of myself. So, when you are having this, when it's becoming a really difficult decision, even though you know that your actions are not going to get you to where you want to go, there's some form of resistance that you have to identify. And then once you identify it, you have to figure out how it manifests in yourself. Is it that you're not sleeping at night? Is it that you're overeating? Like, it'll manifest itself in some way. So you got to identify what that is. And then you have to become very attuned to pay attention to those triggers. Like, what are the things that trigger me? Like, if I know that I'm eating, I'm overeating today, it's because I'm having anxiety about what internal resistance. So there's a lot of, it's all mindset. It's really, really, really all mindset. And it's way easier said than done. And if you're sick of it, you have no other option, and you have nothing to lose.
Brilliant. Like, can everybody clap and have pom-poms going? Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much. Shauna, thanks for your question. There is another question in the chat. I want to make sure we have time for the meetup portion. So maybe you can answer the question in the chat, or
yeah, for sure.
If we have time at the end, if there's not a lot of meetup going on, we can come back to it, if that's
Absolutely.
all right.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put an answer in the chat. And if it's not good enough, you could just find me on LinkedIn and we can have a discussion.
Nice. So, now we're going to transition into our meetup portion. This is for anybody who really is looking for some support, some networking, have some announcements you'd like to make. Remember, this is a members meetup. So if you have a business you're trying to sell, please don't do that here. We want to support nurse-led startups for sure, but we're looking to just give individuals some time to meet up with each other. So with that, if anybody has anything they want to talk about, again, you can use the hand emoji or just jump in.
And I think if there's something pressing you want to talk with Chris about too, feel free. Jane, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's been forever since I've been able to join one of these, so it's just great to see all of your faces, even if it's virtual. Quick question about the hackathon. Are we thinking it's going to be completely virtual still this year, probably? Maybe not? Not sure.
Do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer? You're on mute.
Yeah, so honestly, it's the next one's already scheduled, you guys. It's the weekend of May 14th through the 16th, and it is going to be 100% virtual. The debate is if the November hackathon will also be virtual, which I don't know how many of you guys have gotten your vaccines. I'm guessing a significant portion of you, so there seems to be, all right. We have some of us that are in the house that have got them, so maybe we can do that in person. In some exciting news, our keynote speaker is going to be the Assistant Surgeon General of the United States. Admiral Aisha Mix is attending the hackathon as our keynote speaker for May 14th. And if you guys, similar to Chris, has such an incredible story, but if you guys heard what she's been doing to lead the U.S. Public Health Department, their rollout and everything COVID, she's just absolutely amazing and committed yesterday to coming and attending that hackathon. So we will have the second highest nurse in the country participating in that hackathon to see if innovation led by nurses has a way forward at the federal government level. So just to share that, it is really exciting. And actually, you guys, we're going to have a meeting pre-hackathon for anybody who's a leader that wants to hear more about that. Like you feel like we should be getting it in front of people. That weekend, that event's going to take place on April 7th. At 4:30 p.m. It's a meetup to try to convince those who have never heard about hackathons, and if they're in positions to try to send people. So anybody that you think so, I'll share some of that information. We'd love you guys to help us get that out too, Jane.
And I just put the link a little earlier in the chat with the to the hackathon, so you can sign up.
Website's not going to be live like perfect, you guys, until April 1st. It has to go through with partnerships with Microsoft and J&J. It goes through a lot of legal review. So we're getting all the content through the legal review right now.
So you can add it to your calendar, save the date.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some hands raised there. Did Marion fall off? Go ahead, Marion.
No, sorry, I just don't see them.
Oh,
Debbie, go ahead. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to get nurses' opinion about, I've been doing self-care and resiliency training and retreats for nurses, and we'll be doing one in September, but I'd like to be able to offer something remotely, something that's ongoing, maybe for 8 to 10 weeks, teaching them different tools. I'm not sure if nurses are willing to pay for their own personal development, knowing that it's going to benefit their quality of life as well as their professional life. What are your thoughts, everybody's thoughts about providing a service like that is not free, because free is good, people sign up, but they don't show up. And putting a value, a price on it is something that is, for a business owner, is important. And I know, of course, there's a need for stress reduction and also benefiting mental health. Can people just give me some ideas or your thoughts about offering something like that, and the best way to offer it so that it's not necessarily in their face, but in a way that's going to help support them in every aspect of that wheel of life that Chris has mentioned?
I have so many ideas. And so I think maybe we could talk offline because it'll take all day, but I mean, things that you could do really are like partnering. I'm offering a free conference for nurse leaders and entrepreneurs in August. And so partnering with other, and it's a free conference, but it's really like a kind of like an introduction to what we offer so that people can begin to build trust. People are not going to buy from you because they don't trust you. And so you really, as a business owner, have to cultivate trust. And there's so many different ways that you could do that. And then they will eventually buy from you. But, you know, it's going to take building that rapport. And then as you transition and change their lives, the way you're going to sell is not Facebook ads, because that's not how we make difference. It's going to be word of mouth, because you made such an impact in their lives that they want to share it with the world, and you'll create super fans. So there's actually some algorithms or like steps and foundations and frameworks on how to do that. So if you want, I know we're connected on LinkedIn. We can talk about that, but there's a variety of different ways that you could get your product sold and making it, you know, it meaningful, but you have to build trust with them. And there's like 20 different ways to build trust. So there's like so many different things you could do.
Great, thank you. I'll connect with you. Thank you.
Candy had a question. Marion, yep. Go ahead, Candy.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I would just like to mention that April 1st, it's a Thursday from noon to 1 Eastern time. My business partner, Sharon Weinstein, and I will be doing a LinkedIn Live called Leading Live. And we will have 2 wonderful nurse guests on there. And we're going to announce that that's the first day that we'll have registration for our Global Healthcare Leadership Summit, which of course, our lovely Rebecca will be one of our keynote speakers on October 21st. And that particular leadership conference is free. And you can go to our website, lead4excellence.com, to learn more about that. And I'm sure you all want to hear Rebecca too. Thank you.
And Candy, throw the link, oh, great, in the chat. I think somebody beat you to it.
Yeah, I put it in.
Great. And Debbie, there's comments for you too, from Joshua, based on your question as well. So folks, make sure to check the chat because people are commenting there. Other comments, questions? How's everybody doing? It was really nice in Philly here today, 72.
Hey, Marion. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I was just getting the mute off. This is Shauna. I just put in the chat. There is a study that is being conducted at UNC looking at frontline healthcare workers, particularly, I mean, they really are hoping to get nurses who have gotten the COVID vaccine in the last 6 months. And they want to track them over the next couple of years and really have an understanding of how that is impacting them, not only their physical health, but their emotional well-being. Did getting the vaccine remove levels of stress? And then also they're very specifically wondering about infection rates. So they are trying to register 20,000 people. I think they're up to 7,500, and it's actually a paid participation. But they really specifically are eager to get nurses because nurses tend to be the least studied, and yet they are at the greatest risk. So if anybody is, in our group, but then also to share with all of your network and colleagues. So I put the link in there.
Great, thanks, Shauna. Rebecca, do you want to mention anything about Drexel?
Oh yeah, there's something that I should tell you guys about. We're really excited to let you guys know that Drexel School of Entrepreneurship has agreed to partner with SONSIEL to launch the first Nurse Executive Innovation and Entrepreneurship Certificate that will be taking place the weekend of June 8th through 9th. We are hoping to get a whole bunch of supporters that are going to provide scholarships. The cost for the program is $699, but to support, you can make a donation to become a supporter of the program through Nurse Hack for Health. We're doing $1,000 $1 donation. Your name and logo will go up on the Nurse Hack for Health website, showing that you guys are providing a scholarship for a nurse to attend this alongside of that. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be taught by leading faculty of Drexel's School of Entrepreneurship alongside faculty from SONSIEL. And it's just a 2-day course that we thought was the next step. And we're super excited for you guys to have it. So we're going to share more information that comes. But anybody who attends the May 14th or 16th hackathon, it's not just for people who win. In fact, it's not for people who win. How it happens is everybody who attends, we're going to take a poll at the end if they express interest to get one of these scholarships. Their name is sort of going to go into a technological hat, and the amount of scholarships that we have will come out for that. And we're really excited. SONSIEL for a long time has been looking at trying to do educational opportunities to sort of speak to some of these things. And to be honest, outside of universities such as where Marion teaches at UPenn, we've really struggled to find an institution of higher education that would just sort of design education differently into like a weekend program certificate course to start advancing nurses' careers forward. So although it's not tied to CEs, but we're really excited about is we're seeing several health systems potentially get behind this to say this counts as a true certificate that should start to lead to other further stepping stones. So we're excited. We hope that you guys are going to be there on there. And then also we should talk about the Outcomes Rocket podcast opportunity for all of you guys. Which is Outcomes Rocket podcast is held by Saul Marquez. And you guys probably don't know him, but he has a following over 50,000 average listeners to his podcast of healthcare CEOs and executives across the country. He was gracious to offer SONSIEL a 12-series feature in partnership with Outcomes Rocket. Chris Recinos is going to be on it. Marion Leary alongside him. Nell Adele is going to do that. And we're asking if you guys are interested. We know we don't know all of your stories, but we know that there's a number of you guys in this story who would really represent the world of those outside of nursing. What was the importance of nursing, their value, their intelligence, their knowledge, and why there really should be more nurses driving healthcare decisions and having a seat at the table. So if you guys are interested, we ask that you make a video and submit it. If we don't know you, we have a Marcom committee. We review the videos, and we're hoping to give 3 to 4 of those slots, possibly if we put 2 on 1, up to 6 of you guys an interview. And we think that this interview could be life-changing for a lot of people. You're going to read an audience that most of us have never had the opportunity to reach.
I'm throwing all the links and information in the chat, so if you want to check it out. The Outcomes Rocket podcast is an opportunity for SONSIEL members. So if you're not a SONSIEL member, now is a good time to join, so you can make your video and potentially get on that podcast.
I just love this. And I want you guys to jump in because I hear stories like Chris, and I've heard so many of your guys' stories when we have these things. And I just think to myself, like if everything that has just had with COVID, I want to know what you guys, like what's going to happen to nursing in the next year. Like I sit on a committee with all the leading, like the head of the American Nurses Association, Nursing League Council, all those names that I don't really know, but I sit on this meeting with them, and their perception feels so different than the reality I'm feeling. So I would love to hear from you guys. What is going on in nursing? Are we going to be fine? Like, is everything going to be fine like they think it is? That we have enough nurses going to nursing school? There's really no nursing shortage. This is just all made up. Could somebody jump in and help me? That's what I'd find out. Yeah, please, Marianne.
Okay, I'd like to help, and you're going to have to forgive my sarcasm, but there's a group among us, they are not in SONSIEL, who want everything to go back the way it was, and just as soon as everything calms down, everything will go back the way that was. I say to that. And so I'm putting in myself to do a TED Talk, a TEDx talk at our university. I just finished it before I got on the line with all of, well, now I'm not in the club yet, thank you, but I am talking about digital health and becoming an e-patient. Telehealth is here to stay. We've got to change the competencies. The National Council of State Board Examiners is not there yet. The BSN essentials are changing, definitely not there yet with digital competencies and precision health competencies and telehealth competencies. Well, who does that leave? Well, that leaves the American Nurses Association, and my colleague and I have a proposal in to proposal for ANA policy change on genomics and telehealth medicine. And what we want is that the board exams will contain content for genomics and telehealth and precision health. But what's standing in the way is the old guard thinking that everything's just going to be fine and we're going back to the way it was. And I want you to take a good look at the essentials, each of you, and write to whoever the School of Nursing is closest to you. And they're going to be voting on it soon. And it feels a lot of psychosocial stuff, which is fine, but I'd like to know who they think is going to be the hospital nurse, who's going to interpret the DNA report that's being used at University Hospitals of Cleveland inpatient, who's going to be there to advise. Oh, I guess we'll just pick up the phone and call the genetic counselor office. Okay, giveaway part of our practice. I would like to know from the essentials for BSN and from the NCSBN, why are we pushing to go back to the way it was? So that's a clue for everybody here to get involved at those bodies and start your letters now, because the essentials is changing from the AACN, and you take a good look and see what you think of it. So it's not going back to the way it was, but what's in the gap is our digital competencies and our precision and genomic competencies. There's still a big divide there. Thank you.
Shauna, you got to talk about what you just put in the chat there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Iman Abuzaid, who's the CEO of Incredible Health, and if you're not following her and seeing how she is fundamentally reshaping how nurses are brought, it's really, instead of nurses applying to jobs, it is the employers applying to the talent. So she has completely turned this around, but she just released a study today. And let me pull up the stats for you because it is horrifying. Yeah, the headline that 73% of nurses don't feel appreciated by their community. 80% of hospital leaders report higher nurse turnover. Demand for ICU, ER, PCU, all those nurses grew by 186%. And so this is looking at, the title of it is Nursing in COVID-19 1 year later. So Iman, this is all she does. She looks at the workforce and the up to the moment, like what the needs are, who's hiring, how long it's taking, what the labor force looks like. It is not a pretty picture. So these folks that think it's going to be okay, I don't know what universe they're living on, but it is a very different one that I spend time in.
Amazing.
I second that. It is very hard right now. Nurses are leaving left and right, leaving the ones that are stuck at the bedside short and working extra hard, and burnout is real. So that report is correct, right on point. So I don't know what studies they are looking at.
Gifty, where are you working again?
I'm in Delaware.
What about other places? What are you guys seeing? And I know we are recording, so you don't, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to as well say anything, but. Chris, what are you hearing? Because I know you're with the work that you're doing. Like, what are you hearing and seeing, and what are, from your colleagues?
I mean, I teach too. I'm also a professor of nursing, and what I'm seeing even in the students is that they're burning out before they even graduate. So I have like tons of students that graduate, and I keep, in contact with them, and they're not even going in healthcare. I have friends that have graduated nursing school and they're not working as nurses. They didn't want to. So whoever is thinking that there's not gonna be an issue is smoking something good. We have good stuff in California, it's legal. And so I'm assuming that's what they're smoking. But what I can say is that I have been asked by the American Nurses Association of California to lead a task force on burnout in nurses. And so they asked me, how should we address it? And I said, well, the problem is that we are attempting to address the burnout versus the systemic issues that lead to the burnout. And so my proposal was to implement Newman's systems theory as a model for how we address burnout. And so, they've asked me who I think needs to be involved. And I said, well, ACHE has to be involved because they're they tend to have the finances. We need to be able to discuss this in terms of dollars and cents around, if you don't invest now, guess what's going to happen to your bottom line soon? And that's okay, right? We can discuss it in whatever terms we need to, but there's a lot of different stakeholders. So we're partnering with NAMI, with AFSP. I have a whole list of other folks that with Health Impact of California that we are partnering with to really address burnout from a hospital system-wide level. And I told them it needs to start beyond that. It needs to really start even in nursing school, because we sit here and tell my students, your mental health is important. You got to take care of yourself, blah, blah, blah. But guess what they did today? They sat on Zoom for 8 hours. So we are talking the talk and we are not walking the walk from the minute they aren't even nurses yet. And these nurses are already not wanting to become nurses. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it can't be just addressing the burnout. We really have to go above and beyond that, really understand what the fundamental issues of the burnout are. Yes, sometimes it's staffing. Yes, sometimes it's whatever. In my personal opinion, and this is recording and you can put it up wherever you'd like, I believe it's because nurses are not running hospitals. And since 90% of the budget comes from nurses' salaries in a hospital, it should be a nurse that is a CEO. It should not be somebody who has an MBA in marketing or whatever it is that they have, telling us how we should be staffing. And so that's just my soapbox. But that being said, we can't do it alone. We can't do it in silos. We've got to partner with other institutions. We got to speak their language, and then we got to get them to understand what we need, because our voices are not unified at this point and they need to become unified. So more to come.
Paula, you need to come off and talk about what you're saying. If you're able.
Yeah, I get nervous with the record button, but
Too late.
yeah, I agree with that, what everyone's saying.
Good point. Maybe we should stop recording on that. I can stop recording.